So I'm back in Warris's Cayman GT4. I love these cars so much. Found out I can't buy a Cayman GT4. No dealership's going to sell it to me. It shouldn't come as a surprise because they are rewards for valued Porsche customers. I've never bought a new Porsche before, therefore no dealership is going to look after me. We're in his GT4, we've got the camera set up, we've got a separate dedicated mic this time. So today, hopefully when we get some clear roads, we'll try and bring you some of the audio of this car because it does sound fantastic on the inside. The driver, his name's Warris, we can refer to him. He's going to stay off camera for privacy reasons, but we can listen to him and we can ask him questions. Oh man, I love a GT4. Why won't you sell one to me? You're a valued Porsche customer. I mean, do you know roughly how many you've bought over the years?
It all started off with a Macan. That was my day-to-day. Moved on to a Cayenne. It's a fairly mundane day-to-day, practical sort of cars. Then I moved across over to a 911. Had a 911 coupe, had a 911 cab. And most recently, before the GT4, I've had a Cayenne Coupe Turbo, which was quite interesting.
Is this your first GT Porsche?
This is my first GT Porsche, and it's also the first Cayman, actually.
Yay!
So yeah, I was probably more of a 911 fan to begin with, but having driven the car and having experienced it, especially out in the countryside and open roads, I don't think central London really does it justice, to be honest. But yeah, the car just comes alive. So last weekend, doing that trip, just really made me appreciate not only the straight line performance, which is what most people are sprung up on most of the time, but the handling and the way the car makes you feel. I think it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
And have you driven the 981 GT4?
I have, yeah. So the one of my close friends took the 981 GT4 around 6 weeks ago, a month ago, something like this. It's very interesting because the cars are similar in some ways, but actually quite different as well. So in summary, I'd probably say that the GT4, the 981, is probably a more raw driving experience. So the clutch is heavier, the steering feels is more weighted, I'd say, compared to this. The suspension's a little bit harder. The noise, I mean, you had a separate video on that. I think it sounds a lot louder than this, especially on the outside. So I think if I had a car for a weekend that I just wanted to take out for a blast, I'd probably pick the 981 over the 718. But if you had to choose a car to drive day to day and, you know, be comfortable driving in central London, as well as it doing all the track stuff, then I think the 718 is probably the better option. Misha, who owns the 981, I mean, I took his car out to Tesco. It was a 10-minute drive, but it was start-stop and my left leg was dead by the time I got back home. So it's a much more harsh driving experience. In somewhat, it's a little bit more special as well, because you really feel like the car's very mechanical, whereas here it's been dialed down a little bit, but it's been made more usable, more everyday. I think I prefer the looks of the 718 over the 981. Yes. Definitely. But in terms of the actual drive, it's 50-50. I mean, there'll be certain people who actually prefer the 981. There'll be others who prefer the 718. But in terms of looks, I think they've done really well with the 718. I think it's not massively different, as you put in your video, but the little subtle tweaks that they've made has really transformed the look of the car. Previously, all the cars, well, most of the cars I've had have been turbocharged, so you end up getting a lot more of the power lower down, 2,000-3,000 revs. You really feel the engine. Whereas with this, you have to go higher in each gear to actually, get the car fully moving. Which, again, some people have criticized because the gear ratios are quite long. So actually, to be hitting the red line in first, I think is around 45-50 miles per hour, and in second it's about 85. So I mean, in second you can't redline it unless you're above the national speed limit, and that's on a highway. So,
in terms of the gear ratio, so in my kind of 987 Gen 2, if I really give it the most in first gear and then go into second gear, I find that basically there's a sweet spot. If you're going too fast in first gear and then go into second, based on the gearing, you kind of get that kind of the
little
jolt.
jolt.
Yeah. So on because the gearing here is longer, can you actually go like take first gear right to the top, then go to second without feeling much of a jolt?
Yeah, you can. And I mean, I don't know if you've mentioned this before, but this auto blip is absolutely amazing. It makes me feel like, I mean, manual, I'm probably one of the shittiest drivers, but with the auto blip on, I mean, I feel like a pro. Like the driving, the rev matching, it's every time it's so perfect, and I think that makes you seem a much better driver than you actually are. But yeah, up shifts you do get that jolt, definitely, but yeah, it's nothing bad. And I think just having a manual and having a naturally aspirated engine is something to be celebrated, because there's not many car manufacturers these days that are creating naturally aspirated manual engine cars.
As you can tell, the Cayman GT4 is not in its natural habitat. It's a tight London street. Get this car out onto the open road. It's amazing, you know.
Yeah, I think if you're just looking at straight line performance with a Cayman, you're completely missing the mark, because on paper, it's actually not the quickest car in the world. You know, 0 to 60 of 4.5 seconds. There's hot hatches that are doing, you know, times that are less than that, but it's the overall package or the feeling. And it took me a little bit of time, because I mean, initially when you get in the car and you floor it, you don't get that same feeling that well, I had a 992 cab previously, and in a straight line I was miles quicker. But as soon as you're out and, you know, you're on a bendy piece of road and you really feel the handling, the chassis, how balanced the car is, and you've got the engine right behind you. So yeah, that whole combination of them various different factors, actually it's a much more engaging driver's car than, I'd say, a 992 cab, the one I had, which was point to point, very quick, but a little bit numb in a way. But I think it's really won me over, actually, because I mean, unlike yourself, who's had a passion for Caymans for a really, really long time, for me it was, I wanted a GT product. Was looking to get the 911 GT3, and this became available, so I leaped on the opportunity. And you know what, I'm so happy that I've taken it, and I think the experience has been phenomenal, fantastic. It's not so great in the winter because you're running, well, almost semi-slick tires, so it's a little bit of a grip issue. But come March, April, when the weather starts to get better and, you know, the roads are drier, I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it'll be really good.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of Cayman viewers on this channel. It's principally a Cayman channel, and I think, you know, it was borne out in the comments in the last video. We all thank you for sharing your car with us, because there's only a few of us that get the GT cars, and it's because of people like you who love their cars and are so just happy and willing to share it with us. We all take our hats off to you, because, you know, this is a fantastic opportunity for all of us. Okay, we all love our Caymans, and we're happy that you finally discovered a Cayman. You know, these are great cars.
No, yeah, I completely agree. And for me, it's like, I mean, if I when I was younger, and I've always been into cars from an early age. My father wasn't really into cars, so he wasn't the biggest car nut going, and for me, it was even experiencing other people's cars, even up until the age of, I don't know, 16, 17, 18. It was the more experience I could get and the more exposure I could get to other people's cars, it really made me feel great. And now that I'm in a position and I'm fortunate enough to be able to have nice cars, I want to share it as much as possible with as many people as possible. For me, it's all about sharing the experience. And yeah, I mean, if I can get a car and, you know, you can drive it and you can experience it and you can feel it, why not? You know, that's what it's all about. I've got a question.
Okay.
You get a spec for a 718 GT4. Porsche Mid Sussex call you and say, we've got a 718 GT4 build slot. What color would you go for?
This is it.
And forget about Phil's gent in blue.
Yeah.
I know you already hate my black. You don't like the black. You've already expressed that a number of times. What color would it be? I know you mentioned the sapphire blue as well, so that's not available this time round.
I know, this is a... So, when I initially spec'd one up when they did the configurator, I went for Miami Blue straight away.
Okay.
And that was because it was kind of summertime.
Yeah.
I don't think that car works too well. I mean, but seeing as I live in the UK, there's no sun for about 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
So I think Miami Blue is a bit of a stretch.
I'd agree with that.
They don't do Carmine Red. I'm not a yellow fan at all. And I wouldn't go for the silver either. So I'm a bit... The Gentian Blue is not my ideal colour choice, but...
Is it too mature?
It's a bit too purpley and dark. So so Phil, what Warwick is really trying to get out of me. So I was kind of saying initially when I looked at your car, you know, Phil's got the kind of the toned down. Phil called it muted, didn't you, Phil? And he doesn't have the stitching. Then I was test driving Warwick's car, and you know what? Like I'm a bit confused, but I think even though I want to have a bit of a racy type of car, I need to have stitching. So Phil, I know you don't have the stitching, and I love your car. So you can lose traction on this, can't you? Like,
very easily. I think when you went out with Phil, he's running winter tires, because obviously in Switzerland it's mandatory in the winters to have them. With these, if I'm modulating the throttle so I don't lose grip, but if I was to floor it right now, it starts to lose grip straight away. I mean, part of it's to do with the temperature, because we've literally driven 10 minutes start-stop, so the tires are quite cold. But they're race tires. I mean, they're Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires, so I mean they need temperature, but at the same time on 4-degree UK roads in the winter, they're probably not the best tire to have.
It makes life a bit fun though, yeah?
Yeah, it does. It's a little slidey, so.
This is the Porsche dealership. There you go. If the external camera's on, just driven by Porsche Mayfair.
Do you know what is quite interesting actually? Before I'd spec this, I was torn between taking bucket seats or taking the comfort seats. So I went in a 991 GT3 RS, and the buckets were horrible. They were very, I mean, maybe it's my body shape, or I don't know what it was, but I went out for a 20-minute drive and I came back with back pain, and I've never had back pain. So I was in two minds about the whole thing. I wasn't completely sure, but for me, it was nice having buckets because it makes the car feel more special, especially from the interior point of view. So I opted for the bucket seats, and actually they're surprisingly comfortable, very comfortable. When I collected the car, I did a 4.5 hour drive back from my Porsche dealership, which is based up north, and actually I drove there in a Cayenne, and you know what, coming back it was no less comfortable than going. So I would definitely recommend someone taking buckets who was speccing the car. If you're thinking from a comfort point of view, it's
you know, one thing that worries me, because this is your car, I'm very careful as I get in to just shift all my weight into the center, because these edges, if someone applied a lot of lateral force on the edges, like I just get this feeling that you could almost snap the edges off or something, or I'm sure it wouldn't.
Well, I'm sure about carbon is hard, right? So I doubt you can snap carbon.
Okay, maybe I'm just trying to look after it too much, but like I want to try and shift my weight into the center as quick as possible, because obviously with my normal sports seats, I kind of sit on the edge of the car seat and then swing in, but you can't do that in this.
Well, it's funny, whenever you pick someone up, because the car's quite low and buckets are always notoriously difficult. So I mean, for the first 2 weeks I look like a prat getting in and out as well, because it's so difficult. And you always pick up someone and they literally like take one step in and then just fall in, because I mean it's so low, and there's actually, I guess, a way of getting in. After a week you kind of work it out, but yeah, it's hilarious. So you never said what color. We discussed this, but you gave me the most political answer. And so what would you take? I think
there isn't. So if I could, I would go for the 981 Sapphire Blue, which is. So you're telling me on
the Sapphire Blue is not available in the 718. So if you blue is out. No disrespect to Phil.
No, I'd get Gentian Blue if I had to take the current colours.
You just said you wouldn't take it.
If I have to choose the 718 GT4 colours, it's not my ideal colour choice.
But you take the blue.
I would take the Gentian Blue.
Okay, so blue. I don't know. I hadn't seen the blue in the flesh before. I thought Phil's car looked really nice, really cool.
You know what?
He went for the grey stitching, right, inside. I think it goes,
did he have any stitching? Or?
He had grey, contrasting
I couldn't
grey.
even see it then. Sorry.
You were starstruck by the colour, right? So
I was starstruck the whole day, to be fair, okay?
he had contrasting grey stitching, I think, and he had the steering column thing that Julian dreams about every night. So yeah,
and one thing I noticed that he didn't go for the yellow seatbelts, so he's just got the black seatbelts. And
yeah,
I think
that's right.
I would spec gentian blue, yellow stitching, yellow seatbelts, because I would go for the yellow-blue combo. We have a tunnel. That's an angry engine, that is. Would you almost say that it revs freer than the 981 engine? I mean, I'm not driving that, but it just seems that it's going through the revs. Like,
I think it goes through the revs quicker, definitely. I think it travels through the revs. The red line is pretty much the same. I think on the 981 it's 7.8, something like this, 7.7, 7.8. This is 300 revs more. So that doesn't necessarily make that much of a difference. But yeah, I feel like it travels through the revs much faster. But in terms of straight line performance, I don't think there's a huge difference, you know.
yeah.
I think it's very similar. When I drive Misha's car, I don't feel it to be any slower than this. And I think because it's louder, it adds to the drama and the sensation that actually it's going quicker than it is. So it's what, 30 horsepower in it. The weight, I think, is one of the things that's been discussed quite a lot about the 718. I mean, I don't know why people are getting so upset over a car being 50, 60, 70, 80 kilograms heavier than the predecessor. Doesn't really make a massive difference, or not something you'd really notice anyway. They had the whole lap time thing, so I think they said that it lapped quicker than a Carrera GT around the Nürburgring. That was quite interesting. I think probably one of the big reasons for that is tyre technology's changed a lot as well over the last 15 years. So tyres make a big difference. That's probably, but I mean, so it's an amazing achievement. So you've got the pinnacle, the hypercar of the moment, and now you've got, I won't call it an entry-level GT product, but a GT4 with a fraction of the power. That just goes to show how good the chassis is and how balanced the car is.
It comes back to what you were saying earlier on. It's not about straight line performance.
No, it's not. And I think if you think of it, or if you look at it from a straight line point of view purely, you're missing the point with this car, and it's probably not the right car for you in that scenario.
This is emotional for me, sorry. So external camera, there's Harrods over there. I think when I was 17 years old, I worked in Harrods in the summer holidays because I was like, I want to get a job. Everyone does summer holiday jobs. The year before, I did local run-of-the-mill jobs, and then the next year I said in summer I want to get a decent job. I worked in the Harrods sale, and I wanted to work in the electrical department. So they do the interviews, and then they kind of say, which department would you like? They didn't put me in electrical, but what was I selling in Harrods during the sale times? I was about 17. You'll never guess. I was selling silverware and small cutlery. So knives and forks and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So Harrods is such a beautiful site. But no, you're right. For this car to be doing the Nürburgring, and it's
really cool.
Yeah,
it's really, really cool. I don't want to slag off owners who don't really use their cars, but I think having a car like this, the whole point is you use it, you drive it, and you experience it in as many environments as possible. And I think not doing that, and you know, if I had the car and living in central London and just going around, I don't know, to the supermarket and back, or going to your restaurant or whatever, you're using 10% of what the car is capable of, not even that. So I think to really feel it and experience it, you really need to go out, you need to find some good roads, and you need to push it.
You're the ideal Porsche customer, because you know garage queen for you, you know? Oh, I love that. It's a good thing we've got carbon ceramics. There we go. Yeah, no, so I think Eddie would call it, this is not your garage queen, you make good use of the car. And I guess as a manufacturer, they don't want people that are going to buy their GT cars, you know, lock them up as an investment and just keep them in the garage. You know, you need to make good use of them. And that's,
Absolutely.
take my hat off to you for making good use of this car. You know?
I can already imagine all the people that are going to be commenting, that beep, driving like a, in central London. Sorry people, it's the Max, it's Max prodding me. Okay, so you take a blue with the
Blue,
bucket
yellow,
seats with
you know what? So as I'm going to own that car and I'll be keeping that car a long time,
Yep.
I may just go for the sports seats. I want the bucket. So this is what gets me. I want a GT4. Come on, someone sell me one. Come on. Wow. Actually, there are some on the Auto Trader in the UK, £110,000, being sold through Porsche dealerships, which is interesting because it's selling above list. So Porsche dealers are allowing people to flip the cars through them, which I find interesting.
I think, well, it's the whole thing is with GT cars is a little bit of a strange one. Firstly, I find the market really weird because most of the cars that I find, GT3 RS, GT4 even, they're very low mileage. Although the car is 3-4 years old, you'll probably find them, I don't know, 5,000, 7,000, something like this. So,
which is funny because Phil's had his car probably 2-3 months,
and he's driven it over 3,000, which is amazing. You know, it's like perfect. But that's, for me, it's like it's two things. One is either the people buying them are not really driving them because people are either afraid of the value going down of the car, because GT products are very sensitive to mileage, so people really care about the miles you drive, and the other is because I'd say over the last, I don't know, 7-8 years, there's been such high demand for these models. There's a lot of people who've bought the cars and actually kept them, not as a form of investment, but more as having something where, you know, they don't lose money per se, so depreciation free motoring, and it's almost created this strange market where people who actually want to buy the car and drive it and enjoy it actually don't get the opportunity to buy one. They allocate it to people who've bought 10 cars previously from them, from the same dealer or whatever. So it's a little bit of a strange one, you know. It's I understand from a dealership point of view why, you know, you reward your most loyal customers with your GT products. That completely makes sense. But I think there's a lot of people buying GT products purely from a residual point of view, as opposed to appreciating the car for what it is and using it for what it is. I mean, that's a real shame in the grand scheme of things.
Well, it's just so good to see you, like Eddie and like Phil, that you use these cars for what they were designed for, you know?
Absolutely.
The GT4 allocations, they all vary per country, and it's a lot easier to get one in Germany. In the UK, each dealership, I think so far, has had about 2 to 3, and the total allocation for the entire build run would be about 12 to 14. So very limited cars, and they're all going to go to people that have bought plenty of new Porsches before.
Actually, that's a very interesting point, Max, but I'm not sure whether many people know, but the 718 Spider is a lot more scarce and more difficult to get than the 718 GT4. So on average, from my experience and speaking to various different dealerships, for every 3 718 GT4s, there's 1 Spider.
Wow.
So actually, in terms of if you are one of these people that loves residuals and, you know, forecasting future value of cars, the 718 Spider will probably be a better bet than a 718 GT4, purely based upon numbers. And I think the fact that the 718 Spider now is a real GT car, it has the same engine, the same front suspension, and so on and so forth. I think the predecessor, the the 981, it had a lot of the things missing that the 981 GT4 had. But now actually, the Spider is just an open top version of the GT4.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. It's been an absolute blast sharing today with you. I know it's going to be a long video. Thank you so much for sharing this. Whew, what a way to end the video. Enjoy life and cars to the max. I've just about got that in. Thank you so much for sharing your car with us. I hope this mic's picked up the audio. We've got a separate mic here. There you go. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I just wanted to say that I think the channel is great. I've met a lot of cool people off the channel. It's a little bit strange meeting people off the internet, to be honest. But yeah, I've met some very interesting people from the channel, and I think you're doing great. So yeah, keep it up. Thank
you very much, man. You know, it really helps to sort of feature cars like this and have owners who are so down to earth, and that's what I love about the GT owner, especially in you and with Eddie, is that, you know, you could almost think that the cars, the people that get offered the GT cars, I could understand if they don't want to be, like, you know, on a video or meet a kind of random guy like me, because, you know, let's be fair, that in order to get the GT car they have to have a certain lifestyle. For you to just, you know, share your pride and joy with all of us, I mean, take my hat off to you, you know, awesome. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
There we go. Enjoy life and cars to the max. Until the next video, see ya.